Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and as the second round of the No Kings rallies have come to a close, Donald Trump has some choice words for its grand architect. I'll let him speak for himself here. Let's dive in.
Over the weekend, the No Kings protests.
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs paid for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. It looks like it was. We're checking it out. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out. When you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
Mr. President, besides San Francisco...
And by the way, I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
Well, of course, the president is not a king. As a matter of fact, the whole idea of a king has been so warped, we kind of forget that we come from a nation whose king is quite literally hampered by Parliament. Not to mention George III didn't have that much power. We were fighting a war against Parliament, not the crown. It was just easier to paint the crown as the problem, and of course George III was trying to throw his weight around, and of course it didn't work. But there's something way more important going on in this video. Let's start off with the easy one, and that is the actual makeup of these protesters. It wasn't a great showing. I personally visited one, and I'll get to that more later on in this video. But they were mostly folks over the age of 45. And again, I'll get to my personal numbers later, but the big one from the very start, is in fact the idea that George Soros is the brainchild behind the whole thing. When I say brainchild, I really mean architect. Sorry, I get the words mixed up all the time. So per the Open Society Foundation's website, Soros has given away more than $32 billion of his personal fortune to the foundations. His son Alex serves as the chairman of the board. Now, the Open Society Foundations, yeah, they were one of the biggest contributors to the No Kings rally. So if you want to say that George Soros was the architect, well, you'd be right. But it's time to start taking a look at the people who actually showed up for these rallies, and well, it's not going to look good for them. Well, maybe if you spike the moonshine, you might get a little bit more rhythm getting into these people. Good grief, what a pitiful display. I'm kind of shocked they were able to pull off any moves whatsoever, because again, if you want to do some line dancing, you don't do it in the cities, you do it out in the suburbs and out in the sticks. And come on, if you want to go boot, scoot, and boogie, you got to do better than that. Seriously, there's no kings in the USA? Of course there aren't. There haven't been, ever. No king has ever... I don't think a king has set... Oh, wait, no. George II, I think, set foot in the colonies. I think he did a colonial tour. So I might have to retract that. But we haven't had kings in the United States. Except when they come over to visit, they go to the White House and they shake our president's hand. But these folks aren't just delusional. They've got some really bad rhythm. But I wish that was the worst part. Because the worst part is about to come. See, these people aren't just full of joy, they're full of vitriol. And not to mention, if you take a look at the crowd, they aren't too very young, are they? And so I need to start talking about the numbers that I saw. I went to the Johnson Ferry Roswell Street protest in East Cobb. And the reason I went to that one is because it was accessible, the parking was easy, and it was the only place I didn't have to give my email to. If I had to give my email, it would have been to one out on the Dallas the Dallas Highway and Hiram Highway convergence. There was one out in Canton, and there was one out in Woodstock. The reason I'm bringing up these specific areas is all of them, if you go to the No Kings website, all of those areas required an email. I was not going to give them any piece of my information. I'm not letting them sell my emails to different lists. However, the one at Johnson Ferry Road and Roswell Road had about 4,000 people. And they were packed for about 18 blocks all in all. Because it's a large intersection. It's a technically 3 lanes on each side because you have to have turning lanes. But it's 4-lane roads each direction. It's one of the heaviest places of traffic in all of Cobb County. And there were about 4,000 people there, so I went there to take a personal head count. I want to say that I've been to one, just as I can say that I've been to a Bernie Sanders rally. And as it turns out, there were, out of that 4,000 rough head count, there were less than 500 people under the age of 45. I repeat, of the millennials and Gen Z, 500 out of 1,000. And oh, that number gets smaller because I also counted the children, people that weren't eligible to vote, Generation Alpha. There's about 100 of them, actually over 100. So less than 400. Okay, not less than 400. It's most likely less than 400 were under the age of 45. So you take those numbers out. So 500 out of 4,000, that's an eighth at best. And then you take out that extra 100, that's a tenth. A tenth of the voting age potential of that group was under the age of 45. And they were mostly pleasant. Unfortunately, however, we have to deal with vitriol that is beyond belief. Take a look at this one. This is where the joy ends and, simply put, evil begins.
Hey! You ever heard of Ozempic, you fat ass? Hey! You ever heard of Ozempic, you fat ass?
Did you catch that? Okay, in case you didn't catch that, let's play that again.
Hey! You ever heard of Ozempic, you fat ass?
Okay, yeah. That's a lady by the name of Lucy Martinez who teaches your children. And she teaches at Nathaniel Hale Elementary School in Chicago. And if you didn't notice, pointing to her neck and going, guess what that's a reference to? That's a reference to a political assassination. Again, this is where the happiness and joy of the Democrat Party ends and the sheer ugly vitriol begins. And these people teach your children. And now let's go to something a little bit more articulate than the shocking, but you know what, deep down, this one might even be worse. And it's not because of the direct call that she has. Oh no, it's because of the whole mindset behind this whole ugly debate.
Something that I've heard in interviewing Republicans is that they're concerned with the health care going to undocumented immigrants. What would you say about that?
I don't know that it's true. Everybody deserves health care, and we can certainly afford it in this country.
No, we can't.
So again, they're just, they're pointing to things and saying it's our fault, we're too liberal.
Correct.
Yeah, it's really depressing. I don't know how anybody your age even thinks of having children, okay? Okay, millions of Democrats did not vote. Whose fault is that?
Yours.
We need to get ourselves together, and we might even need to be a little bit meaner, because the Republicans don't mind being mean.
And by mean, what do you mean? Do you mean protesting? Do you mean...
Maybe we have to, stop being so nice.
Because you seem like a pretty nice lady.
I'm a pretty nice lady, but I can be pretty mean, too.
Okay, and I have to ask this because people on the other side are going to say that they feel like the Democrat Party has been mean. Recently, with Charlie Kirk being assassinated,
He's a piece of garbage. Of course we were mean. I am so tired of people saying, oh, but, it's a terrible thing. No, Hitler is dead. I'm glad Hitler's dead. Evil people have no place in my world. He was a hateful human being. It was disgusting, the things that he said and did. I don't have time for that. I'm sorry. I have to point my energy in other directions.
You have to point your energy in other directions. Okay. I really hope their energy starts going to your grandchildren, but I rather doubt it. See, there's a different sort of evil at play here. The evil of thinking that you, lady, that you are the arbiter of truth. All right? I am not dumb enough to think that I have that ability, okay? I like saying what I see to be true. But when you believe fundamentally that you have the thumb on the pulse of humanity and that you not only have the truth, you also have morality on your side. When you magically say that you have the best theology, the best philosophy, and the best science, that is the question of what is God, what is true, and what is real. When you say that you, madam, have a grasp of all three, and how dare anyone else bother to question it, that's a problem. That is a fundamental problem. And she thinks that she really does understand these concepts. and she thinks that Charlie Kirk is somehow equatable to the dictator of one of the worst governments in world history. I don't think there's any realm of reality where that makes any sense whatsoever. In what Candyland does that make any sense? The whole idea of the No Kings debate is based on this ridiculous, insipid lie that Donald Trump is ruling outside of the bounds of the Constitution when the inverse is true. When the judicial system is ruling that a sitting president cannot enact settled laws passed down by our Congress. When a judicial system says that a president is not able to act according to the Constitution. You don't have a dictatorship of the executive. You have a dictatorship of the judiciary. Your energy, madam, is in the wrong direction. Your energy should be at the very system that has propped people like you up ever since the early 1950s. Now, I don't mean to call out all boomers, but remember, the whole American system was set up in order for the boomer generation to thrive. That is a fundamental pillar of American policy making during the 1940s, 50s, and of course the 60s. And it worked. The problem is we've forgotten how to expand that to the rest of America and to the rest of these generations. And this woman thinks that because it worked for her, it means it's obviously going to work for her children and grandchildren. Except it hasn't. And people like Donald Trump have been pointing that out. And she clutches her pearls and dares think that he's coming for everything she believes in. And thus she needs to make an enemy out of anyone who dares to say, no ma'am, you're wrong. This is an issue, ladies and gentlemen, an issue of worldview, an issue of understanding what is truly happening, an issue of media, and an issue of people like George Soros making this very organic movement of the No Kings rallies. An estimated 7 million people came out for these rallies, and they're called an organic movement, so a tenth of the Democrat voter base. Well, ma'am, and to the folks in the audience, if that's organic, then I can call Boxic Cheez-Its organic. It doesn't make any sense unless you realize that these people are funded outside of a system that has benefited them for the past 60 years. And they've refused to evolve, and now they've been told, hey, you need to evolve in order to benefit the next couple of generations of Americans, and these folks are saying, how dare you? That mindset is going to wreck our democracy. And I mean those words, our democracy. And I want to end with this. When they use that phrase, our democracy, they mean their control of the government, of the media, of rhetoric, of morality, of truth. And when I say our democracy, I mean our country as described by our Constitution. So the No Kings rally, folks, I'm sorry, no one in their right minds is buying it. Except, people who are outside of their minds. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, tell me what you think about this whole kerfluffle and what's really going on in the comments below. Hope to catch you on the next one here on PolitiBrawl. Till next time, y'all have a good one.